guys? To everybody who's watching the replay, hope you're having a great day, great night whenever you're watching this. It is pretty late here. It's a little after 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And so I'm just going to give this video a moment for people to hop in, see if anybody wants to hang out for a little bit tonight and talk about a few different bass fishing rigs. So what's up, guys? Looks like 2 people just jumped in. Hope you guys are having a good night. Leave a comment. Let me know who you are. Leave a thumbs up. Let me know that you're here and down to hang out and chat a little bit. We're going to talk about 5 different bass fishing rigs that you certainly ought to be utilizing here in 2020 and beyond in order to catch more bass. Looks like the 2 people who were here just hopped back off. Sorry to see that. I did get a thumbs up somehow, but looks like that person bounced out of here. So anyway, while we give it another minute or two, I'm going to hop on Instagram and engage a few people there. So just to give you a little bit of a preview of what we're going to talk about tonight, I'm going to talk about the Megabass Okashira Screwhead. Riley, been doing good. How about you, man? It is hump day. Had my birthday earlier this week, and got Valentine's Day coming up. Going up to the mountains this weekend with the family and some friends. Gonna do some skiing. So all is well over here. How about you? It's always hard getting this Instagram set up. What up, Cody? What up, Chase O'Dean? Hey ya. Appreciate it, Riley. Thanks for the birthday wishes. What's going on, guys? I am streaming both on Instagram and on YouTube. We're going to talk about 5 different bass fishing rigs that you ought to be throwing in 2020 to catch more bass. Doing well, Chase. Cody, what's going on? So just to give you guys a little bit of a preview of what we're going to talk about in detail over the next half hour, could be upwards of an hour depending on how long you guys want to hang out and chat. We're going to talk about the Megabass Okashira Screwhead combined with the Spark Shad. We're going to talk about the Tokyo rig, how to set it up, when and where to use it. We're going to talk about the Ned Rig. Hello. We're going to talk about the micro jig, and we're going to talk about the Underspin. A few different varieties of it. Again, why you ought to be throwing it, and in lieu of what other options are out there. There are a few other rigs that I do want to talk about, but we're not going to talk about every single thing tonight. What up, Clark Daniel? We're not going to talk about the Nico rig or the Free rig, which are both a couple that that deserve a lot of attention as well. So anyway, we're going to talk for, call it a half hour or so. We're going to break down these rigs. Love for you guys to give your input. Let me know if you use these baits, these rigs, and how you've done on them so far. So first is, what up, Patriot Living? Megabass Okashira Screwhead combined with the 3-inch Spark Shad. Okay, both products are made by Megabass. Here's what the Screwhead looks like. And I will just take the bait off of here real quick since it's already tore up. Show you what this looks like. Essentially, it is just a lightweight jig head with a lot of detail and this spinner blade on the front. Rigs like this have been around a long time. You know, Northland Tackle makes the I think they call it the thumper jig. But essentially, this is a customizable spy bait. Spy baiting has become such a thing in the last couple of years, and is going to continue to gain popularity. Clark Daniel says Okashira with the 3-3 Kitech is money. I don't disagree. In fact, I think that's an awesome way to rig it. A lot of people have issues with throwing the Spark Shad because it's got 2 eyes on it, and the head has eyes on it too. So you get that kind of 4 eyes look, which a lot of people think is a little bit silly, goofy looking. But I'll tell you, you throw that 3.3. This is a Rage Swimmer, and not a Kitech Swing Impact Fat. Just because I've got it in a better color. I like both swim baits. I do think the Kitech is just a little bit better, but I'll show you what this looks like in comparison. Just because I do like it as well, and I think that's a good suggestion. So here's a rough look at it. That 3.3 is great size, borderline too big. Let's take a look at what the 2.8 actually looks like real quick. And as I said in my last video, Smackin' Bass, what's going on? CGAZ Outdoors, what's your go-to weedless rig for that style? That's an interesting question. I don't necessarily have a go-to weedless rig for the spinner blade on the front. There is no real weedless version, but what we are going to talk about as the last rig is the Underspin. So there's enough similarity there, but then we're crossing into, say, spinnerbait territory as opposed to spy bait. So this is a different type of rig in itself, and I don't really think there's a way to do it weedlessly. Unless somebody else watching, why don't you leave a comment? Let us know if you've done this rig weedless. So there's the 2.8, and I think that is just a little bit more appropriate size-wise than the 3.3. I like the body and the profile of a 3.3 swimmer better than I like the 2.8, and I mentioned that in my last video. So quite honestly, I would throw the 3.3 more frequently, but I think the 3-inch Spark Shad, profile-wise, tail-wise, just goes best on this head. So again, this is the Megabass Okashira Screwhead. It's got a ton of detail on it in the head itself. I believe the hook is like a 1/0. I could be wrong on that. I should know. And then it's got a nice little wire keeper tied on there, and all the components are super high quality. They sell it in a few different sizes. I've got this in the lightweight 1/16 ounce size. It actually does say here, it says that's a 3/0 hook. I don't know that I totally believe that. You can get it in a 2/0 hook as well. So you tell me if you think that's really a 3/0 hook, but could be. 1/16 ounce rigged on a 3-inch Megabass Spark Shad is, I think, the ideal pairing on this rig. And you just swim it on a straight retrieve through the middle of the water column to catch suspended fish. And it's super finessey. You throw it on light line, say 6 or 8 pound fluorocarbon on a spinning rod. And yeah, there's just something about that subtle vibration. It's just a little bit more than a finesse swim bait. Get that vibration from the blade spinning. So let me know if you've thrown that rig. Spy baits are boss. Got some spy baits rigged up right now and use the Underspin a bunch, says Jay Sodine. Yeah, I am not a big spybait fisherman myself, so this is the rig that I go to. I really like finesse swim baiting. Spy baits, at least just from what I've seen so far, are hard to get to run right. They're becoming so popular that a lot of different brands are putting them out, and not all of them are made very well. So I've seen a lot that are made pretty poorly, actually, and you pay a pretty penny for them. So, for example, the Storm Arashi spy bait is one that looks great in the package, seems like a cool idea, but then when you actually see it underwater, when you look at videos of it, it doesn't balance very well. So something about this head and this blade on the Okashira Screwhead that is just top notch, and I know works really well. Kid Iraq, man, do you have a schedule? I always just happen on when you're on. No, I actually don't have a schedule, unfortunately. I wish I did. And that is a goal of mine, is to get on more of a regular schedule of not just doing live videos, but also uploading videos onto YouTube. So I apologize for not being more regular, more predictable. But no, to be honest, I don't have a schedule. My wife works nights 2 days a week, and that is a little bit unpredictable. So as I said, I'll try to be better in the future about notifying you guys, making the posts on YouTube a day in advance or so, just to let you know what the topic will be and when I should be streaming. But CGAZ Outdoors says, Duo, enough said. Yeah, man. I think if you're going to throw a spy bait, Duo Realis is probably the way to go. Clark Daniel says, for a weedless option, have you ever thrown a swim bait on the Tokyo rig? Yes, sir. I would not say that that's the same thing as a spy bait whatsoever, but we are going to talk about that in 1 second. So Tokyo rig is actually the next rig that we're going to talk about. CG says, rig your paddle tails upside down. Favor that. And they will crawl better. Cool. I really only rig paddle tails upside down if I'm throwing them on a chatterbait, which we talked about just a little bit last time, and I told you I usually don't throw a paddle tail on the back of a chatterbait. I've got enough options otherwise that I'm not trying to be so versatile that I feel like I have to use a paddle tail. But if you are going to use a paddle tail on a chatterbait, do it upside down. So anyway, let's talk about Smacking Bass. Knows his stuff. That's a fact. What did he say, Kenny? Yeah, he's talking about them kings. I got you. You cut the paddle tail off when putting it on a chatterbait? Yeah, man. I do that as well from time to time. I mean, it essentially just creates a jerky J type of bait, straight tail. And I talked about 3 or 4 different baits like that last video. Anyway, let's talk about the Tokyo rig, guys. Tokyo rig's been out for a couple of years now and is a very basic system. You can create this on your own if you want to. It is pretty cheap to make if you've got your own components, but it's also not that expensive to buy pre-rigged. BMC makes it. Mike Iaconelli was pretty much responsible for it. Appreciate it, guys. Chase O'Dean wants to hop in here on Instagram. I'm going to do that while we talk about the Tokyo rig. Kid Iraq, don't worry about it, man. You should use notifications. For me, at least. You don't have to use them on everybody, but use them for me, man. So, Clark Daniel, you make your own Tokyo rigs from broken A rigs? That's cool. Kenny, I can talk about lipless cranks soon in the future for sure. This is that time of year where it's time to talk about lipless cranks. I just made an order off a Discount Tackle today where I picked up a couple new colors of the LV500. What's up, dude?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. Thanks for letting me join in. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Pleasure to meet you. What's your name? Is your name Chase?
Chase, what about you?
I'm Tyler.
Hey, nice to meet you, Tyler.
Good to meet you too.
You introduced your video. I got a bunch of that stuff just literally laying out right now. So I was like, man, if I could jump in, this would be a good one.
I feel you, dude. Absolutely. Let me try and turn up the volume so that we can hear you a little bit, because I'm streaming on YouTube right now as well, and I'm sure some of these people would like to hear you. They can't see you. You both have the same view right now, but there's 6 people over on YouTube and just 9 on Instagram. So I'm going to talk about the Tokyo rig for a hot minute. I'm not sure if it was you just commenting on it a minute ago, but anyway, Mike Iaconelli came back from Japan a couple years ago and decided to make this more of a mainstream public rig that you can buy pre-rigged. And so it's essentially just a short leader drop shot with a wire leader. And initially, you could only buy it in the EWG worm hook. Now they sell it with an offset worm hook and a flipping hook as of just last year at ICAST. So I think the flipping hook is really the absolute best way to present this application, though it is super versatile. And we were just alluding to that a minute ago. You know, the most typical way of fishing this is going to be like it's a punch shot rig, essentially, right? So you're going to pitch it.
I power fish it. So I power fish it. I'll do it basically like a power drop shot.
Sure.
So I'll rig it up. I'll rig it up like I don't actually get the Tokyo rig. I'll do it just like a drop shot itself. And I'll still fish it, pretty light, but yeah, I mean, I'll use it to punch through cover and stuff like that, but I also love using it on, wing dams, stuff like that, anywhere on rocks, just kind of bouncing along the bottom. Anywhere you'd feel comfortable fishing a Texas rig.
Sure.
Is where I would fish Tokyo rig in a heartbeat.
But you're not using an actual Tokyo rig. What did you just say you're doing? You're just doing a short leader drop shot?
I'm a little, I rig it up, so I'll use like a 4 EWG, and I'll just basically tie it like a drop shot, only I'll leave like that much at the end of it. At the end, like a half ounce to an ounce,
Yep.
And I'll fish it just like that. And man, it has been effective. I do with your weights a little faster than I probably would on the traditional kind of style that I brought over from Japan.
Sure.
But I like it that way. I know how to tie it quick. I'm familiar with it, and it works about the same from what I've seen.
Sure. So you're using a regular drop shot weight, not a bullet weight, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
But they got these real skinny. Like you can get away with it though with drop shot weights. Like, hang on a second. So you use a drop shot weight like this.
Yep.
And you can still get into that cover.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you don't necessarily have to go out and buy the BMC Tokyo rig. You don't have to fish it on a regular bullet weight. You can just use one of these and it'll slip right through that cover, man. It's real nice.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, but honestly, all my drop shots, I'm rolling like 3/16. I don't have heavyweight drop shots for the most part. So I think that's a good idea for sure, but that's part of what we're talking about is just there's a lot of different ways and places to throw this application, right? Just a short leader drop shot, but the benefit of this wire leader, really more than anything, is that it's going to ensure that the bait stays up off the bottom. You're going to have to power fish what you're talking about quite a bit faster, right? In order to make sure that it's not settling down to the bottom, especially with a super short leader. But all the power to you. That's definitely going to work. Like you said, you're probably a little bit more prone to losing weights, especially fishing in rocks. But who cares? Especially if you're throwing lead, not tungsten. Then who cares? But yeah, I was going to say I tend to rig it with 2 opposing weights, like so. For those of you on Instagram, you would have seen I posted a picture of this yesterday. And so I'll pitch this into heavier cover, flip it, and it is going to slither in and out of cover a lot better this way. Make just a little bit of noise with those weights clacking against each other, and you can put more weight on there. So combine these two weights that are 3/8 of an ounce, make 3/4, and that's heavy enough for me in most situations. Now, like somebody was saying, not sure if it was you, but what I might do instead of throwing a creature or cross style bait is throw a swim bait, or throw a more aggressive creature style bait that's got a lot of flapping appendages. And
I'll show you what I throw on mine all the time.
Like this is the man bear pig, but of course you could throw any soft body swim bait, like whatever. I'll throw a Kitech on here, and yes. So whoever was asking, I do, and I certainly would swim a Tokyo rig. I think that's very effective. A little bit different of a presentation than throwing just a weighted weedless swim bait hook. Again, because you've got some separation from the weight, and so I think it's a cool look, and definitely worth a throw, especially if you're Tokyo rigging throughout the day. All you got to do is swap plastics for a slightly different presentation. What's up, Will Perriman? Do you fish that rig? What are you asking? Do I fish this? Yes. What's up, No Diggity? What's a Tokyo rig?
There it is.
This short leader drop shot with a wire leader, swivel, and a split ring that is welded. So it's got a hook coming off the one side of the split ring, a wire leader dropping down. I had one unrigged here, right here.
There you go.
So you tie onto this swivel right here. You rig your bait onto the hook coming off the side here, and you put weights onto the wire leader. That is the general idea. So it is wicked. Only became really mainstream or popular the last 2 seasons, and it is caught on like wildfire. Pros are using it all over the place. Like I said, they've introduced other mainstream versions with various hooks. So if you are using it like I primarily do, with heavier weights opposing, and you're flipping into heavier cover, just going to power fish it, it makes sense to have a flipping hook so that your trailer is going to stay up there 10 times better than just on an EWG style hook. So anyway, where do you live, man? Chase?
I'm actually in Washington. It's still pretty cold, so and I mean, my garage is not heated, but yeah, I'm over in Washington State.
You're in the cold garage right now, huh? Braving it.
I am, but I was already out here working on fishing stuff anyways, and I saw you went live, and I was like, I was on Bass University TV. Hey, if you guys never checked out Bass U, definitely check it out.
Yeah, man.
Bass University TV, and I checked Instagram real quick, and I saw you went live. I heard everything you were going to talk about, and I'm like, man, I got about 4/5 of those things on my table right now.
Might as well hang out a little bit. Absolutely.
Hey, real quick on that Tokyo rig.
Yeah.
This is my favorite thing to throw on it right here. And it's kind of like a brush hog.
Yeah, it looks a lot like a brush hog.
Yep. I think X Zone makes it. X Zone Hog Hunters, and it
Cool.
got clothes and whatever. But anyways, I fish it on a 5, or even I'll go up to like a 6 out if it's a really big bite. But yeah, no, I'll do it on flipping hooks too with that heavy guard, and it lines up real good. That same kind of technique that I was talking about, where it's basically a Tokyo rig, but it's just a real short leader.
Right.
You know, and yeah, it's fast. Yeah, it's definitely it's a fast way to fish. But I mean, when you're just trying to get those reaction bites, like you're in practice or whatever, and you're there, you go, yep, and you're just trying to get that quick little, you know, hey, I know there's a fish here. It's perfect that you cut the hook off, you know, cut the end of your hook off, you get that tug, and you just know, man, it's great. Then you can come back and you can really fish that area slow. But my little short Tokyo rig, my homemade Tokyo rig that I have, it's a great way to cover a lot of ground super quick.
Absolutely. Well, good for you, man. I am a fan of doing it yourself, but every now and again, I will take shortcuts. So yeah, it depends on what the rig is, but I have a lot of respect for the fact that you're just figuring out a way to make it work and having success on it too. So right on. So I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna kick you out so I go full screen again. It starts chopping my head off as I go live with people, but stay in here. Give your input on some of these next ones. By the way, this is a Reaction Innovations Man Bear Pig, which is a sweet bait. Got it in 2 colors and really like it. It's got this notch on top for the eye of your hook or flipping hook to catch onto, and it's got some sweet action. Obviously, great colors like Reaction Innovations tends to do. But anyway, yeah, I like to throw the Kitech Crazy Flapper and more aggressive baits on there. You know, the Zoom Z-Craw, Rage Bug. There's a ton of different.
I like throwing a pit boss on it too. I really enjoy throwing a
For
pit
sure.
boss on it.
Yeah.
It's got those 4 pinches and they flap like crazy. They're super light, you know?
Yeah.
They'll flap like crazy going down when you're just kind of bouncing along. Man, you'd be surprised. You can get some that way.
Yeah.
But
yeah, pit boss is a.
Let me know when this conversation starts.
Yeah, I've actually got that last on the list, but we can scoot it up, dude, because the last 2 or the other 2 rigs, you know, the Ned Rig and the micro jig kind of go hand in hand. So why not just talk about underspins right now? So I'll boot you out. Jump in the comments, give opinions and experience that you've got, contribute to the conversation, and we'll keep chatting. But good to meet you, Chase.
All right, sounds good, Tyler. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your night.
All right, see ya.
All right, homies. Cody, good to know. Kid Iraq, good to know. Kid Iraq, what's your name again, man? I asked you last time. Feel bad that I don't remember. Clark's asking, have I thrown the Man Bear Pig on a wobblehead? Yeah, man, that is like the #1 way that I fished it last year. That is my favorite way to rig the Man Bear Pig. And all brush hog style baits. So anyway, same with the Crazy Flapper, but I will be honest in saying that the Tokyo rig is starting to flirt with the wobblehead, and I'm starting to throw it just a little bit more frequently than I would a wobblehead or even a football head jig in some situations. So Dalton, good man, how are you doing? Kate, what is up, Kate? You know, you should not be in here. I will say my wife posted a happy birthday post the other day, and on her personal page, it told a lot of people to start following me on my fishing page. So people like Kate and my grandma and some other family friends and people are following me now and are going to start hopping in these live streams. So miss you too, Kate. How's everything going for you guys? I doubt you're going to want to hang out while we talk about bass fishing lures. We're talking about underspins next. Love to catch up though soon, Kate. Tell Kev I miss him. Love to see you guys whenever we can soon. All right. See ya. Have a good night. I know it's Kid Iraq. What is your actual name though, dude? Got a ton of 6 cents underspins, no idea how to fish them or when, etc., he says. Is Smacking Bass here? Yep. There are 7 of you in here. Chase, Riley, Daniel, Justin. All right, guys, let's talk about underspins for a hot minute. I've said it before, and I stand by it. I have pretty much substituted spinnerbait fishing for underspins. And I absolutely love to customize all sorts of baits with blades. And I will be honest in saying that I did not prepare and pulling out a bunch of them, but we'll start with the exposed jig head with an underspin. This is like a fish head spin type of deal. I think this one's made by Buckeye Lures. Richland, Washington. That's far from me. Shelton, up by Olympia. Okay, so this guy, like Kid Iraq was saying, he's got a bunch from 6 Cents. The Divine Underspin. This is essentially just a swim bait head. You're going to put a, depends on the size of the hook, but you're going to put a paddle tail swim bait on there for maximum action. The blade is just going to create a little bit of extra flash and essentially blur the line between a finesse swim bait and a spinner bait. So here's what you're given. And it's wicked. Okay, very straightforward. Usually comes with a more light wire hook for better penetration. This is not quite a swim jig. It's essentially a skirtless swim jig, but you get that extra flash dangling below. One thing that I like to do instead of pay the extra money for these pre-rigged, because I think this guy, would cost $4 or $5 by itself, is buy some blades. Few companies make these now, but I was turned on to these, I don't know, a couple seasons ago by Tactical Bassin. These are the Pro Point Lures Underspin blades. So essentially what you do is grab any soft plastic bait. Here's a better version. This is a Kitech 3.8 rigged on I think this is a 2-aught hook. This is a Gamakatsu round ball jig head. And this is just a finesse swim bait that you throw on 8-pound fluorocarbon on a steady retrieve. And what you do is you take this underspin blade and you just screw it straight into the bottom. It's got like a CPS style spring, and voila, you've got the exact same thing as what I just showed you with that Buckeye, fish head spin style deal. Of course, it's a ball head jig. There's no detail there, but you could throw it on any more detailed swim bait head. My favorite is the 6 Cents Divine swim bait head. It's got a nice medium light wire hook and a screw lock keeper on there. Great head detail. And again, you can use that Pro Point Lures underspin blade and customize it. Make your own underspin. You can swap out the blades, change the color, change the style of blade super easily, and it's cheaper. So with the screw lock design, goes in easy, stays in easy. It's not going to come flying out. And I'm a big fan of that. So you can attach it to any type of soft plastic too. It doesn't need to be on a swim bait. And again, you could do it off of a Tokyo rig, for example. So I'm not going to get too wild right now, but just use your imagination on how you could use that. You don't need to have a swim bait head in order to use the blade of an underspin. Clark Daniel, do you lose many of those on fish catches? No, that's why I was trying to address that. No, these with the screw lock, they do not come out very easily. So the other kind that I do like are from Z-Man. Z-Man has put these out in the last 2 years or so. And these are the TRD spins, okay? Same exact style deal, but comes with a double barbed plastic keeper on there. So these are made more for Elastec baits and will stay on there just a little bit better than that screw lock that I just showed you from Pro Point Lures. Both are super affordable. You can get a pack of 3 of them for less than $5. So best way to go, in my opinion, is to buy a pack of 6 cents Divine swim bait heads and a pack of either Pro Point Lures, Underspin blades, or TRD Spins blades. They make them in Colorado, and Willow blades. Willow blades, because all I've got at the moment are the Colorados. So these ones being from Pro Point Lures, having the screw lock design, don't do quite as well with the Elastec. It's just trickier to rig. I showed you guys last week how to rig Elastec onto screw locks, the way you have to pinch it as you're twisting it on. It works just fine, but again, not necessarily ideal. So the other types of underspins that I use most frequently are the Owner Flashy Swimmer. Okay, this is a weedless underspin. This right here is the smallest version of the Flashy Swimmer that they make. And that is the 1/0. I actually really like it for 3 to 3.5 inch baits. This is a hollow belly swim bait, but on that Kitech or Rage Swimmer in the 3.3 inch, it's primo. On the 3 inch minnows by J Boogie. Is that made for a Ned Rig? The TRD Spins? You're joking, but it kind of is. It's actually made for, for years people have been putting blades on the end of Senko style baits. So we're getting a little bit off topic, but I'll show you guys something real quick. For example, so here's the Strike King Zero. Not sure if you guys have or throw this bait, but it is essentially an Elastec Senko style bait, just like the Z-Man Zinkers. Sorry I'm not keeping up on comments here on either platform very well, but all you're going to do is take that blade and rig it straight into the head. Which is a little bit tricky with the Elastec, but just shoves right in there. It's going to look a little bit lopsided, but all good. Okay, J Boogie. You got it sticking out the end there. Now you rig it either wacky or Texas rig. Grab a little Mustad grip pin. You don't have to rig straight into the nose of the bait where you've got that blade pushed in there. Just come down a little bit from it. Pull into the bait. And you rig this Texposed. And voila. Fish this on a Texas rig. And watch that blade come down. I'd actually rig this opposite from the tail. Sorry to waste your guys' time and goofing around. This is kind of hypothetical, but J Boogie was asking how you would fish this most of the time. So I'd probably do this the opposite and put the blade in the tail and the hook in the head of the bait. Just go standard Texas rig and put the blade in the tail. Fish it like a Texas rig, and as it settles back down, that blade is going to spin behind it. For a long time, people have been fishing that style rig. and it is very effective. So Z-Man was just putting out their own version with a keeper that is made specifically for Elastec, but people have been using blades on the back of Senkos forever. So I highly recommend that you give it a shot. Check out those TRD spins from Z-Man. Chase O'Dean, I get my underspins from Wicked Weights. They're weedless, come pre-rigged, and are very effective. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with Wicked Weights. I know that they're a company that has come on to the scene in the last few years, handful of years, but I'm a big fan of the Owner Flashy Swimmers and of the Trocar version. They just call it the Swim Blade. So here they both are rigged. These are both the 5/0. Here's the thing, is that Owner's version is not the beast hook. It's got a little bit less of a wide gap. Let me show you. Not sure who all's in here at the moment. Still paying attention. See Will Perriman. See Chase and Clark. So let me show you guys the difference. It's not the one I wanted to show you. I know I've got a 6/0 chilling here. Pre-rig. All right. Here they are. So this is the Lunker Hunt Fetch swim bait, but this is the 6/0 Flashy Swimmer, and this is the 6/0 Beast Hook on the Megabass Mag Draft Freestyle. Hard to tell unless I put them directly side by side, but I will say that the gap on the Beast Hook is deeper and wider than you get on the Flashy Swimmer. Doesn't make a huge difference there, but see you later, Smackin' Bass. Wicked Weights is primarily focused on tungsten weights. That's what I thought. They're slowly moving into terminal tackle and jigs. Will Perriman says the video is much better here. Yeah, video quality is going to be much better here on Instagram than on YouTube for the next few weeks until I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and can start streaming from my phone, have better video quality and better audio quality. So to those of you watching on YouTube right now, I appreciate you guys' patience, and I apologize for the diminished quality if it's less than ideal for you. Kid Iraq says, Owner by far my favorite hook company. All I used as a skinny water salt guy. I respect that. So anyway, Owner Flashy Swimmer is what I would use a lot of the time for a weedless underspin. The main difference between it and the Trocar, just in case you were wondering, is that the Trocar has more of the same wide gap that the Beast hook does. So it's a little bit wider of a hook than the Owner Flashy Swimmer is. And the placement of the weight. If you notice, the Owner Flashy Swimmer, the weight is much closer to the nose up front, and it's a fatter weight. The Trocar is a little bit closer to the center of the hook, a little bit further down, and it is a little bit more compact, distributed differently. So I don't find that it makes that much of a difference, but they do make the Trocar in slightly lighter weights, which I'm a fan of in a lot of applications. So Chase O'Dean says he has a 6/0 handy. Yeah, man. I do too. So that's the 6/0 Flashy Swimmer in the Gold Colorado. I've got a few others here as well, but in various sizes. Also got the 4/0 Beast hook here unrigged in a package. You should see my desk right now. I actually don't want you to see my desk. It's a total mess, but I'm going to put these baits back on. As you can see, the 5-inch Spark Shad by Megabass, a very similar profile to that Lunker Hunt fetch that I just was showing you. And all of those 5-inch baits work quite well on the Owner Beast 4-aught, Trocar 5-aught, and the Owner Beast 6-aught. You can really, there's a little bit of range there in what you can use. So if you've got any questions about weedless underspins, let me know. I am a big fan of them. Again, you can use those customizable blades like we talked about on weedless swim bait hooks, weedless Texas rigs. You can really use that underspin blade however you so choose, and I do recommend that you have these in your arsenal so that you're not necessarily limited to having it attached to your hook and having to swap rigs entirely. It's nice to be able to pull the blade off there and have a more finesse approach if you so choose. Love to Bass 509. I use Owner Flashy Swimmers and Owner Beast. Love them. Absolutely. I do too, man. They are arguably the best hooks in the game. I also like the angle. I've noticed that the Trocars come at just a slightly pushed up angle, which is not always a bad thing. It just depends on the bait. And a few times, depending on the bait that I'm using, like if I'm using, say, the Spark Shad or something that's got a very flat top, what I will end up having to do with the Trocar is bend the point of the hook down. I find that I don't have to do that with the Owner Beast and Owner Flashy Swimmer. They have a little bit more of a straight angle on the hook, and I like that. So just a little minor detail, kind of nitpicking there, but is what it is. Riley says, what's your favorite one to use? You know, that is a great question. Tough to say, man. Riley, I probably use this 5-aught Trocar swim blade with the silver willow blade more than anything. Again, it's got that wider gap to it. It does have a little bit more of a pointed up angle on the hook, but with a lot of the baits that I use, especially that have hook slots on top, that's actually a better thing. You get more bite, better hookup ratio. And with this wider gap, you can use this hook on baits as big as this 6-aught mag draft freestyle, or as small as something like it would probably even work on a 3.8-inch Kitech or something like that. But I would mostly use it for baits in the 5 and 6-inch range. So just my opinion. I don't think there's necessarily a do-it-all one hook. So it's hard to answer that in terms of what's my favorite one to use. Let's move on and talk about the next rig. So far, we've only talked about the Okashira Screwhead, the Tokyo rig, and the Underspin. All very versatile lures, rigs that you ought to be using. Next, we're going to talk about the Ned Rig. We talked a fair amount about the Ned Rig in the last video, so I'm going to be a little bit swift with it, talk about heads more than baits this go around. And if somehow you've been living under a rock and don't know what the Ned Rig is, just very, very quickly, the Ned Rig is a light wire, mushroom style jig head, typically a size 1 hook, and a 3-inch more or less do nothing soft plastic bait. So the Z-Man Finesse Shrooms jig head on the Z-Man Finesse TRD is the rig. Since then, it has evolved quite a bit to be more than just this standard rig. I'm going to rig one up for you just so you can see. Super simple. Do nothing. Sits on the bottom. That size 1 hook is small enough to where you still have plenty of clearance and that tail wants to do its thing. If you go to a bigger, longer shank hook, that tail's not going to wag and do its thing when you've got such a short bait. Now, it's understandable if you are going to size up and use something like the big TRD, you know, a 4-inch bait, the hula sticks, something that's a little bit bigger. You know, at this point now, the Robo Worm makes a 4.5-inch Ned Worm, and 6 cents makes the Ned Fry. It is a 4.6-inch bait. So those you can use a bigger hook on. Z-Man makes the Power Finesse Shrooms jig head, which I think has a 1/0 hook on it, is a little bit longer and is appropriate on a 4-inch or longer bait. But for the standard Ned Rig, which is a 2 3/4-inch bait, the Finesse TRD, so baits ranging from 2.5 to 3 or 3.5 inches, you want that small light wire hook. Size 1 is ideal. Now, people complain, people want heavier hooks for different applications. Z-Man makes the Ned Locks hook, which is the same size hook, just with a thicker gauge and a different keeper on there. That's a good one to use. Certain companies like Owner has come out with the Blockhead. This has a wire keeper and an Owner hook on there. They make it in tiny sizes like this 1/32 ounce, which I like to rig on the TRD tubes by Z-Man, and a few other ways. Eagle Claw and Trocar have come out with versions, slightly different style hook on here, but with a double barbed plastic keeper on there. That's really effective on keeping Elastec baits up there. Z-Man makes a weedless Finesse Shrooms, same exact hook as the Finesse Shrooms, same jig head, but with a double wire weed guard on the end. That is effective, pretty decent hook there, but if you are going to go weedless, I think your best option on the market is the Lifted Jigs Ned EWG. Talked about this head a lot, and we'll continue to rep it. I will say it's been so effective and so popular over the last year or two in particular that they have now been copied by Owner hooks and a few other brands. Discount Tackle, what's up? Not sure if it's Cody or who's logged into the account, but what is going on? Chase O'Dean says, little secret, I will fish a twister tail grub on a TRD head all day. Bass can't stand it. Yeah, man, that's a good rig. Honestly, there is a Z-Man grub that I like to fish. This is the 3-inch grubs. I will fish that on a Ned rig as well. This is the motor oil color. Super effective. So at this point, there are 1.5 million baits that you can throw on the Ned rig. We're not going to talk about the different baits you can throw. This right here, I took a turbo craws and cut off the claws themselves. This is essentially the 10,000 fish Tsukoshi bug, which I ended up playing around with and seeing that that's a little bit of a copycat bait. So the Lifted Jigs Ned EWG is the best weedless Ned rig setup in my opinion. As I said, they've been copied by a bunch of companies, including Owner with the offset. I forget even what they call it, but it just came out. So I love owner hooks more than any other brand, but this Lifted Jigs Ned EWG uses a BMC light wire hook, 1/0 size, which is a super good hook, nice and sticky sharp. But they've got best paint jobs in the game, and they're a small business doing big things right now, growing really well, and I'm all about that. So I'm going to continue to support them. Let's see who's still in here at the moment. Discount Tackle, leave me a comment, dude. I was just talking about how I ordered a bunch of stuff from Discount Tackle earlier today, and how sweet you guys are. Those products are already on the way, by the way. Okay, here's another head that you should be throwing. This one's newer, and it's the Gamakatsu Finesse Jig Head. You can find these on discounttackle.com. This right here is the 3/32 ounce size. It's closer to like a 1/10 ounce from Z-Man, and it's a little bit rounded on top, so it's not a total mushroom style head, but it does have a screw lock keeper on the shank of the hook. So I like using this for non-Elastec baits. It's going to prolong the life of your baits quite a bit. So a couple examples of baits that I would use that hook on specifically are my non-stand-up Ned baits. So the Robo Worm Ned Worm in the 3-inch. It's the Prism Shad. I mean, look at that color. Wicked. Hand poured colors. That's why you throw Robo Worm. And the Guggen baits Rattling Ned. This guy has salt in it, has a rattle in the tail of the bait. So you get a lot of noise, but you don't get the buoyancy. So you don't really need a mushroom style jig head because the focus is not necessarily to get that bait to stand up. So the Gamakatsu Finesse jig head has that screw lock keeper and is going to allow a salty bait that would ordinarily tear up really quickly to stay on the shank much longer, and you're going to get a few more fish at least out of every bait that you use. So I've got a few packs of those. These come with a slightly smaller hook, I think. No, it is a size 1 hook, but I've got it in the 1/16 ounce and the 3/32. I think that's a great hook. Okay, so that pretty much covers most of the hooks that I throw for the Ned Rig. There are a lot of different baits, and a few that I am a big fan of, which are new to the market, are the Strike King Ned Rig baits. We talked about these in the last video. This one here is the Strike King Rage Ned Bug, and it's wicked. It is essentially the baby, I thought I had one out here, but the baby Rage Bug with a narrower profile like a Ned Rig bait would be, as opposed to the wider profile of a bug. Imagine a downsized version of this Rage Bug. It is still going to have that beaver style body where it's flat on the side and it's wider, tapering as it's coming down. This Rage Ned Bug, on the other hand, is just more wormy in nature, and it's a straight body, very narrow. But you've got the claw appendages, you just don't have the antenna in the middle, and you do have these side appendages. They all flap, do a pretty good job of giving you some action under the water. This bait stands up fairly well. I'm a fan of that one. Strike King also came out with 2 others in the Ned Ocho. One more quick plug for Discount Tackle. You can get all of these Ned Rig baits by Strike King cheaper on Discount Tackle than you can get anywhere else, period. So if you haven't already, hop on there, see what colors they have left, because they are selling out faster than is quite appropriate. But that's just how it goes when you've got the best deals in the business, and people get word of it. They're all hopping on and buying them. So other one is the Rage Ned Cutter Worm. This is essentially a downsized version of the Rage Cutter Worm. It's got that cutter tail on it for a swimming action. And in clear water, great colors like this moon juice here are sweet. So the concept of a swimming Ned Rig bait is still a little bit new school. People aren't doing that. The Ned Rig is more so a dead stick style presentation. So for example, you take this Ned Ocho and it's just a worm with a little bit of a tapered tail. You've got some design, some ribs on the side, so it moves just a little bit of water, but much more subtle action. Whereas that Rage Ned Cutter Worm, you might actually lift a little bit higher so it swims down, or you might swim it along the bottom, and that tail is going to do work for you. By the way, I don't have a ton of experience with the cutter worm specifically, but I've heard from multiple people that you do rig that cutter tail oriented down, not up, for the best action. Okay? So, anyway, I said I wasn't going to really talk about Ned Rig baits. Discount Tackle, if you're still watching, here's one bait you guys need to get in stock. We'll talk about this offline, but X-Zone Lures Ned Zone. Okay, one that they do have that I absolutely love and just picked up another pack of today is the Missile Baits Ned Bomb. This right here is the Goby Bite color. Just got it in the Fishalicious, I think, which is a pink style color. I'm going to time out here in 15 seconds on Instagram because apparently we've been streaming for an hour already. So I'm going to cut this stream and start back over if you want to hop back in, the 6 of you who are watching on Instagram. See you in a second. All right, homies. If you're still watching on YouTube, let me know. Kid Iraq, never use Discount Tackle. I sense an opportunity. We have been collaborating, dude, for you to get your first bass on a chatterbait this year. Yeah, man, you need to go on Discount Tackle and check them out. Best deals on pretty much all things Z-Man. That is why I was so interested in partnering with them when we first started talking about it. As you can see, I've got a ton of Z-Man baits, and I've pretty much bought all of them from Discount Tackle. So it works in both of our best interests for me to continue shopping there and to represent them as best as I can, and to suggest that you guys go shop there as well. When you can save 20% off on a lot of major brands like Z-Man and Strike King and Kitech, you might as well, right? And on the other brands that you can't, like Megabass and Jackal, a lot of JDM brands, Guggen Baits, and a few others, it is what it is, right? I mean, you're not going to find them discounted anywhere except for those specific sales that happen a couple times a year, because those brands have manufacturer advertised pricing. It's called MAP, and those prices are locked in. Nowhere can sell those products at a discounted price, including Discount Tackle. So it just is what it is. But you might as well go save some money on the other products you're going to buy and use those savings to more or less save money on the higher price items you're going to get. So just bought a couple of Megabass jerk baits myself, and the new Chase Baits prop duster. You're going to see that in an unboxing video coming up soon. That is wicked. So anyway, Discount Tackle, just so you know, I've got a lot of work to do on your behalf. I'm streaming here on YouTube talking about you guys right now, but I still need to create that video on the Daiwa backpack, and then those orders that I placed today that are coming my way. So again, we'll talk offline shortly. I don't know if you guys watched Smallmouth Crush stream earlier tonight. He was drinking red wine, so that's why my drink of choice tonight is a glass of red wine. This is a 2017 Zinfandel from California. Anyway, last rig we're going to talk about. So far, just to summarize, we've already talked about the Megabass Okashira Screwhead and the Spark Shad combination, and how it effectively is a spin-off of the spybait technique. Talked about the Tokyo rig and its versatility, all the different baits and ways that you can utilize the rig. We talked about the underspin and how I use that in lieu of a spinner bait these days. And we just talked about the Ned Rig and how effective it is finesse fishing, dead sticking, catching finicky bass. So last rig that is a little bit related to the Ned Rig is the micro jig. Okay, pretty sure Discount Tackle sells these. Don't quote me on it, but this is the Z-Man Finesse Shrooms micro jig. Okay, and the cool thing about it is essentially this is a Ned Rig on steroids. It's a weedless Ned Rig, like that jig head that I showed you, the Finesse Shrooms weedless jig head. It's got these two wire weed guards. That's the hook that they use on this. They sell it in a 1/8 and a 3/16 ounce version. And most of the ones that I have are in the 3/16 ounce. It is a slightly heavier head than what I would use on the Ned Rig itself, but for a jig, that's super lightweight. And as you can see, it still has the tiny, tiny size 1 hook on here with a wire keeper. Nice light wire hook for easy penetration. That weed guard is very light, easy to set. Chase O'Dean says, thought you were done, bro. Instagram only lets you stream for an hour before automatically stopping your stream. So that's just what happened. Automatically ended, and I started back over. We're only going to talk here for about another 10 more minutes before I'm out of here. Just want to talk about micro jigs. And this is the Z-Man Finesse Shrooms micro jig. It is the most affordable version of a micro jig. You buy them in 2 packs for $5, or on Discount Tackle for $4, 20% off. And so at $2 a jig, or $2.50 if you want to pay full price, it's a little bit cheaper than what you'd get, especially if some of the alternatives on the market are like the missile baits. The one by Mike Akinelli, what's it called? I don't know, the Ike's micro finesse jig. Maybe that's just what it's called. But anyway, very similar deal. As you can see, this comes with a rather long skirt. The end of the hook is like in the middle of the skirt. So what I do is chop this down about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch to just below the shank of the hook, and then thread on most of a Ned Rig bait. This right here is the watermelon candy colored jig with a Hot Snakes TRD ticklers, and I've cut a little bit of the ticklers down actually, so it is shortened. This is a tiny little profile. Look at how small this is, guys. I mean, like I said, this is essentially a Ned Rig on steroids, and so you get a lot of secondary action from that skirt and from the tentacles on the top of the Ned Rig there, but you still get that super small light wire hook plus the weed guard. This is a sleeper way to fish. Tiny, tiny jigs. People aren't, it's not super mainstream. Here I've got the Pond Scum color jig with a green pumpkin orange TRD chopped down. This is probably 2 inches long. Took 3/4 of an inch or so off of it. And one other variation. I forget what color they even call it, moccasin craw or something like that. It is like a black and red with a little bit of gold flash on bottom. And on it I've got the Heights Hot Craw colored TRD craws. Absolutely wicked. So again, I chopped down the skirt, one so it's not covering the bait, and two, so you get a little bit more flare, more secondary action, so it pulses through the water as it's flowing and as it lands and you're moving it around. So really affordable jig and jig trailers here. These are all Z-Man combos, but of course you could throw any of the different Ned Rig baits like I just talked about with the Strike King Rage Ned Bug would be a great trailer on there. Or the Rage Ned Cutter Worm would be a good one if you wanted to swim one of these. But the micro jig is an application that people aren't really doing. Finesse jigs typically have a hook that is going to be, anywhere from 1/0 to a 3/0 hook, which is very different than the micro jig, which typically is going to have like a size 1 hook, maybe as big as a 1/0. So micro jig is kind of the last application that I wanted to talk about. Last rig that you ought to be throwing in 2020 in order to catch more fish and bigger fish. So just wanted to get you guys thinking a little bit outside the box about different ways of fishing. Like I said, there are a number of other rigs that we could have talked about, specifically the Nico rig and the free rig are ones that I want to talk about coming up. If you guys have any questions, Fox River Lures and Rods, what's up? Hope you guys are having a good night. You guys jumped in one of the last times that I was streaming. Been meaning to check out and try some of your guys' rods. I've heard good things, especially from Bass and Bill over on Instagram. I think really highly of him, and he got me intrigued on your guys' product. So anyway, Cammy K, hope you're having a great day, Cammy. I miss you. Was just checking out your Instagram the other day. Saw that you just started following me. I've been live on here for over an hour, and I am just about signing out. So if any of you 4 people on Instagram or 8 people on YouTube have any questions or want to talk about anything specific, I'm willing to hang out for another few minutes while I'm sipping on this Zinfandel. Got nothing better to do than tinker with these baits, so I just don't want to waste your guys' time and drag this out longer than necessary. I wanted to cover those 5 rigs, and we have over the last hour and 12 minutes, says YouTube. So to those of you watching this on the replay, sorry that it drug out so long, but there is a lot to talk about, lots of different ways of rigging these applications that we talked about. So leave me some comments, or I am going to bounce out of here in a minute or two, okay? Chase O'Dean, thank you. You learned so much. Appreciate you. Discount Tackle, holler. Talk to you soon. CGAZ Outdoors, thanks, man. Great info. Appreciate you. Cammy K, are you in here or nah? Nah, she bounced. All right, guys. Since you all said peace, all 3 of you, y'all have a good night. I'm going to sign off here on Instagram first. See you next time. All right, so we are signed off on Instagram. Kid Iraq, can you ask about a past topic? Of course you can, man. You can open it wide up at this point. You said you need a spring shopping list. It's coming fast here in South Carolina. Yeah, I've got one running. I keep one in a separate document, like a Word, Microsoft Word document. And I also, there's a feature on Tackle Warehouse called a shopping list. I believe that's what it's called. And it's called a wish list. So if you scroll to the top of your page on Tackle Warehouse, there's a wish list button next to the shopping cart. If you click that, then you can create a new list. I've got one called Spring 2020 right now with 13 items in it. A bunch of lipless crankbaits and a few swim baits by Savage Gear and Zoom Magnum Finesse Worm, the Z-Man Project Z weedless chatterbait that we talked about last time. Anyway, ask away, man. What do you want to talk about? Past topic. What is it? And to the 8 of you watching right now, if you haven't already hit the thumbs up button, please do me that solid and leave a comment. Say who you are, what you thought of this conversation, and if you have any questions. There are 7 thumbs up right now, so I appreciate you guys who are in here watching, have been watching, and hit that thumbs up button already. Kid Rex says, watch the MLF the last 3 days, and they were killing it on the jackhammer. Yeah, it seemed a little bit mixed between chatterbaits and spinnerbaits, but you say it seems like most use a white with a white trailer. Is that where you should start? You want to throw one and have confidence in it. Depends. You have a bad problem of switching too soon, colors and trailer types. Yeah, that's a good question, man. Or the bank. And are you fishing ponds or are you fishing lakes? Sorry if I just cut out. It said my connection was unstable. So my follow-up question to start answering your question is, where are you fishing? Ponds or lakes? Are you fishing from a boat or from the bank? Because ultimately what we're trying to get at is, what is the primary forage for the bass in your waters? Lake Bowen and from a boat, I presume, or what? Do your bass feed on shad or bluegill primarily? From a boat in a lake. So yes, I would almost immediately tell you you should go with a white jackhammer. Just my opinion. If you wanted to find a little bit of a middle ground, what you could do is pick up the, golly, where do I have it? Is the green pumpkin shad color. Get a little bit of a mix there. Green pumpkin top and a shad or white bottom. So you get a little bit of best of both worlds. Half shad, half bluegill. But yeah, if you're looking to just throw one, dude, here's what I would recommend. I would get one chatterbait and 2 trailers. I would get the white jackhammer chatterbait. It is all white with a little bit of flash in the skirt. It's got a silver blade on it. That is the bait, okay? Even the warden couldn't tell you the forage. What? That's weird, dude. Well, you'll find out in the spring. You throw a lipless crankbait or a square bill where you see a bunch of bait, and you should be able to see balls of bait in the water. It'll look kind of like dark clouds. Depending on the clarity of your water, you should be able to identify where bait is, and you can snag bait just by using treble hook lures. So, all right, white on white jackhammer. You can get it for $12 and change on Discount Tackle, and they should be in stock right now. Let's double check. And I would recommend the 3/8 size before the ½ ounce. Son of a bee. They're sold out at the moment, but they do have the spot remover color, which is wicked. It's got a silver head on it. Clearwater shad would be another good option. It's got a little bit more of a clear skirt on it and a silvery skirt. So Clearwater shad is a great color option. Again, that's $12.79. I would recommend that over the chartreuse and white, unless you tell me right now, what is your water clarity in Lake Bowen? You said you do see that. Lots of bluegill in the summer. No herring, I'm told, this far north, but I don't know. All right. So when you see those bait balls, throw a treble hook bait like a lipless crankbait or a square bill right through those balls of bait, and you will accidentally snag some bait and bring up one of those little shad, one of the bait on your treble hook. You will be able to see what color they are specifically, but a white will do a better job of imitating a little bit of everything that is not a bluegill and stands out in almost any water clarity better than others. So white is just a good color to start with, but that Clearwater shad isn't just for clear water. I think it's a good idea to look at that one, or just wait a little bit until the white comes back in stock on Discount Tackle. But right now, they've got the Clearwater shad, they've got the chartreuse and white, they've got that green pumpkin shad that I just talked about, and they've got a couple other colors like the green shad and the spot remover, which are good ones. Now, I'm not trying to confuse you too much because you said you want just one color. So let's stick with white or a variation of white to start out with. So Clearwater shad or pearl white if and when it comes back in stock. Okay, it's actually just called white. As for trailers, there are two that you're going to throw. One is the diesel minnows. I don't even have one in white right now. 4-inch diesel minnows by Z-Man. Comes in a 5-pack. And the other is the razor shads. Okay. Don't quite remember if you told me you've already got these, but this is made to be the ideal chatterbait trailer. Okay, this is called Pearl, is the color. And I'm not going to rig it on there because it won't come off very easily, but just so you see what it looks like from a profile standpoint, you don't have to adjust it or cut it down whatsoever. This is what it's going to look like rigged on there. It is a thicker body profile-wise, but you get that segmented body, that forked tail, and wicked action. You say you got pounded by these storms, so it's blown right now. Yeah, that's expected. Usually you'd say stained, I guess, or green water. So all the more why this color instead of a clear water color is going to be better. Now, eventually, if and when you're willing to splurge for a second one, you said you've got bluegill colored razor shads, not white though. Do have both whites in the Zako though. Okay. So the Zako will work well on a white chatterbait as well. You don't necessarily have to get a pack of the pearl razor shads, but it's essentially the same bait, just made by Z-Man instead of by Yamamoto. It's going to last a hell of a lot longer, but it only comes in a 4-pack. So you pay almost $1 per trailer. And like I said, once you put a trailer up on a jackhammer, you're not taking it off. You're not saving it. You will destroy it. It's got a double wire keeper on there, and it holds trailers on there for the life of them. The second you pull it back off of the hook, the whole bait is ruined. Okay. With the Laztec, you literally can't get it off of there. So your best bet is to leave it on there, leave it tied on, or put it in your box with the trailer still on there. And the white color will get distorted if you put it in with anything green pumpkin or chartreusey. So anyway, get yourself a white or that Clearwater shad color jackhammer chatterbait. jackhammer, not the Thunder Cricket. If you're looking to just get one premium bladed jig, get it in white. Use your white Zakos, and you will be good to go. You will see the power of just how effective the chatterbait is. Now, if and when you're willing to get a little bit outside the box, and you're down to use those bluegill colored or green pumpkin razor shads that you've got, get yourself a B Heights Delight colored jackhammer. Honestly, I'm a little bit tempted to send you one of these. Got like 4 or 5 in this color, and this one right here, it's got the paint chipping all off the blade and is all beat up. Did me really well last season. I've got like 3 that are opened that I used last year, and a few that are opened that I never got around to throwing yet. So send me a message, man. Do you use Instagram? Kid Iraq, are you on Instagram? Answer me that. Calling all Kid Iraqs. Are you on? Not right this minute, but do you have an Instagram profile? Ugh, no social media, bro. I want to exchange contact information with you, and you know I'm not putting my phone number here. Send me an email. Do you have an email? Gmail. Write this down. Send me an email to hooksetsarefree18@gmail.com. Nope. Dude, how are you even on YouTube right now with a username? You don't have an email? You do. Send me an email. You can send me an email. We can exchange contact information, and I might send you one of these too. If you notice, these guys are still totally unopened. They're out of the package, but have not been exposed, have not been tied on or used yet. We've got a few of them that I have used and a few that I have not used. And just since you're engaging with me so well, asking good questions, and are motivated to figure this out, you buy one in white, and I'll send you one in the B Heights Delight color. Okay, this is a green pumpkin top, chartreuse bottom, wicked bluegill imitator. Kind of want to hook you up. So send me an email to hooksetsarefree18@gmail.com. Let's go back and forth. I'll get your contact information, and I'll send you a little package. Okay? I know I don't have to do that. I just feel like it. Don't change my mind. You get yourself a white one, and I'll get you a green pumpkin variation. Again, 3/8 ounce is the size that you ought to be throwing. Okay? Half ounce is effective as well, but the 3/8 ounce is what you can throw in skinny water. You can wait a little bit longer and throw it in deeper water. It is a lot more versatile, and especially where the bluegill hang out, and if the shad are schooling up and you can see them balling up shallow, 3/8 ounce is the way to go. So even though they make it in like 3 or 4 different sizes at this point, that 3/8 ounce is the money. So I'm not joking around. Send me an email, man. Hook sets are free, 18@gmail.com. Hopefully me saying this 12 times over doesn't result in me getting a bunch of emails from people asking for free baits, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. So anyway, I appreciate you engaging. I asked you at the beginning of this stream what your first name is, not what your username means, being Kid Iraq and not Kitty Rack. I know that, but just for the sake of knowing who you are, I was asking what's your first name. So anyway, appreciate you and your time. Send me that email, and we'll go back and forth. I'll hook you up. I've got too many baits to go around, right? There are a bunch of other colors that I would recommend, like the bluegill, like the, you said what your name was? Damn it. I feel guilty now. What do you say, dog? Your name's Ray. I got you, Ray. I just found it up in the comments, and now I see it down below. I feel you. All right, Ray. Well, pleasure. I'm pretty sure I asked you that last week. I will do my best to remember that moving forward. I apologize for not remembering and not seeing that earlier comment. But good chatting with you, Ray. Anyone else who's watching, thanks for hanging out in here, even though you've been silent. Don't go sending me emails asking for free baits unless your name is Ray. And I know you're not asking, Ray. I offered. So appreciate you guys and your time this evening. I'm going to hop off. It's been an hour and a half streaming here. My battery is starting to get low here. I'm not plugged into a charger. I've been off of Instagram for the last 20 minutes now. And yeah, all we've been doing is talking about chatterbaits the last 20 minutes. So nothing wrong with that. But Ray, pleasure hanging out with you. Hope you have a good rest of your night. Hope you all have a great rest of your night. And I will talk to you in the next one. Cheers.